Hey guys, Jay here again with another book review. It's been a while since my last one, probably a couple of weeks. I'm starting to get back into it, get back into the study of things, back into the hang of things with reading. I actually got something new. I got the Kindle Basic 2016 version, the 8th generation Kindle. I got the basic one because it was more cost efficient for me. It was just cheaper, and I don't really mind the plasticky feel that other people complain about. So I've actually decided to move my entire library over to the Kindle. Well, the ones that I don't really care too much for. The books I'm going to keep in physical copies are some of my absolute favorite series, like The Mortal Instruments, The Infernal Devices, Cassandra Clare stuff. But let's not get into all that. So again, I have now a basic Amazon. I have a basic Kindle 8th generation. Came out in 2016. It's the newest one, and I got it in white. Right. So moving on to what this video is actually about, I'm going to be reviewing Sinful, Cinderella by Anita Valle. I actually did review that. I didn't review it. I read it a couple years back, but I forgot to actually review it. And it's one of those free books that's the first of a series that's in the Kindle store. So I decided to download it. And this is dark. It's a fairy tale retelling, as most... You find a lot of them, actually, on the Kindle store. And this, I'm going to be telling you, is dark. For mature audiences only. I'm not going to give you really an age limit. It's... If you're mature and you can handle the stuff mentioned within the book itself, murder, rape, vanity. Not really too much of a dark theme, but I'll just put it under there. Murder, rape, drugs, and some other pretty heavy stuff. So here is the cover. I'm sorry I can't bring up the brightness because this thing doesn't have a backlight, which I'm actually pretty okay with. I do rate it an 8 out of 10. No spoilers. One thing I will speak about is not a spoiler, though some people might consider a spoiler, but with the title of the second book called Sneaky Snow White, it basically tells you what happens next, because it's the first book of a trilogy. It flows into the next books. They're not just standalones of retellings in a series. They actually do flow within each other. So let me just pull up the synopsis and I'll get straight into the review. And you thought the stepsisters were wicked. I'm not who they think I am. A docile girl who meekly obeys her stepmother and stepsisters. Some kind of sick angel who cheerfully bears their mistreatment. That's what I want them to think. Because then they won't suspect what I'm really up to. The ball, the prince, it's all part of my plan to come out on top. Stepmother and her demented daughters will pay for every floor I've scoured, every sneer I've borne. They don't know about the white magic, how I use it to enhance myself. They can't see that my heart is black as midnight, rotten as a poisoned apple. They're about to find out. So again, main character is Cinderella. She is really, really dark, actually. She has this white magic that was given to her by her fairy godmother, who she calls is her fairy godnutter, who had been her mother's sister when she was alive, died, was saved by fairies, and became a fairy herself. So fairy godnutter gave her this decanter that will generate white magic whenever she does something good. So she ended up taking it upon herself to do all of the cleaning, taking the insults and this, that, and the third from the stepmother and the stepsisters, which ended up giving her some white magic, which she used to enhance her beauty, her hair, her eyes, her body, her teeth, her feet. Her feet got absolutely small, like a child's, like a doll's. They're completely out of proportion. But because she ended up making them too small. That all said and done, she has a plan for the prince's ball to go there, swoon the prince, become the queen, and get revenge on her so-called family. She does end up going to the ball. She wears this black dress with a feathered neckline up, and she looks like an evil queen. She looks absolutely stunning, and she stands out in front of the crowd. The prince, however, does actually have a daughter. He had a first wife who ended up dying, and the daughter is 8. You find out by the actual cover of the next book, which is why I don't really consider it too much of a spoiler. It's Snow White, which you can make inferences from there on. But Cinderella meets the prince. The prince does some stuff, insinuates some stuff. He was going to make her queen. She declined, and he wanted her more than ever. She loses her shoe. She runs away in terror. And, sex is also mentioned in the book, by the way. I forgot. That was one of the other themes I wanted to mention. But the prince ends up tracking her down. The stepmother doesn't help Cinderella. She just tries and turns her into the prince instead of keeping her locked up in her room. Like how she did in the Disney movie. Again, Disney really waters down and makes it all children friendly, the original stories. The original stories were dark, but not as dark as the retellings. At least not as dark as this retelling, from what I've seen. The prince ends up finding her. An event occurs, and she becomes queen. The event is a little bit of a spoiler. There's some in-between stuff that are hidden behind the story that's known about Cinderella. About some of the side characters you'd actually never meet. Like Cinderella's mother, the queen, and some other characters. I'm trying to actually figure out what to say. I actually tried to record this video before, and it didn't actually work out too well. So I have almost no thoughts left. I'm so sorry about that. But she ends up being queen. She ends up being the stepmother to Snow White. And you can infer with what you know from Snow White's story to know who she is. Because it's actually a line that's said in the book. Like, in the middle of the book before she even goes to the ball. She meaning Cinderella. Now, I do rate this a good 8 out of 10. It was pretty entertaining. I enjoyed it. I really do want to get a hold of the other 2 books on Kindle. I don't know what the 3rd book is called. I honestly don't. I have not been able to... I've not had the time to actually look it up. I only know that the next book's called Sneaky Cinderella because... Sneaky Snow White, because at the end of the Kindle book of Sinful Cinderella, there's actually a sneak preview of the first, I think, 2 chapters of Sneaky Snow White. So you will be able to actually take a look at that. It's several years beyond this book of Snow White all grown up and how she is in the stories from, I think, it was either the Grimm brothers or Christian Hans Andersen. So, honestly, there's that. It was a pretty straightforward book. It's the story of Cinderella, but darker. You get some darker themes. You get some events that flush out the character and give them more depth, which is always great, instead of them being that straightforward, very empty character that you see in the Disney movies way back in the day. So, an 8 out of 10. Really good. I actually do recommend it. It's one of my first fairy tale retellings, actually, that I've read. I do enjoy it a lot, though, and I'm very much interested. It's one of my first dark retellings. How about that? Because I know I've read some more, like Goose Girl from the Books and Bayard series by Shannon Hale. But Sinful Cinderella by Anita Valle. I'm gonna actually be reading all my books on Kindle, at least to the extent that I can, because books are still expensive. Let's be honest here. Books are very much expensive. So I'm going to try and do my best. But, again, I have about 4 more books that I can read. That I'm currently reading, actually. Glass Castle by Jeanette Walls. The Third Twin by O.J. Can't remember what the last name is, but again, it begins with a C. Shadow Shapers, and there's this book on the Kindle store that I'm actually reading called Four-Week Fiancé by Lauren with a last name. I'm so sorry, I actually don't remember what her last name is at all. But those are the 4 books that you're most likely going to get a review out of me. Oh, and Midnight Sun, the movie that stars Bella Thorne, actually does have a book. It did come from a book. I don't remember who the author is, unfortunately. And I'm actually reading the Twilight retelling. Not retelling. The fan fiction that's by Stephanie Myers. But they call it a reimagining because it's official. But it's actually like a fan fiction that any of us would write. It gender bends the entire cast of Twilight except for Charlie and Renee. Those are the only ones that were not gender bent. And Stephanie had a lot more fun actually writing that book. Which I actually really like, that she actually gender bent the entire cast. And it was almost fan fiction like. So those are the 5 books or so that are most likely going to be reviewed on, or at least you know what to look out for. So love you guys. Thank you for staying subscribed and keeping up with my videos. I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.